Yeah, I got season tickets.
Okay.
So.
Love that.
He works
Transmission for GM.
Yeah.
We were talking about, we got
There you go.
all those.
That'll be good.
You know Renee Ross?
Yeah.
So Renee and her son Matt, who are in Alaska.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
We had tickets sitting right next to each other.
I love that. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. So the couple that I'm mentioning,
Best car I ever had was a '69
Jim
Camaro.
Okay.
so they're building a house.
Oh, yeah.
That was good old days.
Yeah, I wish I could still have
I
it.
remember when we used to, remember Coleman Incorporated when we
Yeah,
used
they'll go with us to the
to do
Lions.
that on those drags.
It's awesome. Love that.
Maybe we'll see it down there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't put the little shoulder pads on.
I don't
It's
have
just all
shoulder
painted
pads.
up.
I don't have shoulder pads.
All painted up.
Yeah.
How we looking on AV? Awesome.
Cadillac, that thing weighed 5,200 pounds. It would still run 125, 130 miles.
Yeah. That'd be great. Thanks, Charles. All right, let's make sure those mics are green. The clock has hit the top of the hour, and we will kick off with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Want to welcome those in chambers as well as to those that are tuning in via our broadcast to our City Council study session. I'd like to pass it over to Clerk Tomasic to please take roll.
Schumate,
Here.
Cox,
Here.
Cosmore. Here. McNabb. Here. Mulnar.
Here.
Valentine.
Here.
Wood. Here.
Fantastic. We do have a full house from a council point of view. We do not have either our fire chief or our director of public safety or our city attorney, and I was informed that Treasurer Fonte will just be a few minutes late. So with that, we can go ahead and get started. One reminder is for study sessions, we are not able to take any action, so no motions to be made. Just want to remind everybody for the sake of procedure. But our first topic is going to be our strategic priorities, followed by our department head review process, and then the other open discussion. We will have public comment prior to adjournment, so if any members of public that have questions or comments, please know that we will address those in item number 4 on our agenda. So with that, I'd love to open up today's meeting with our strategic priorities. Council, in your packet, you see the 5 strategic priorities that we had discussed at prior council meetings. Went ahead and just started to put some kind of quick thoughts on tactics below each priority. What I thought, and I'm open to any suggestions, what I thought would be good would be to just go bucket by bucket. So start with number 1 and go around council. I know you've had time to see this since packet was sent to you all, to make sure we document any additional tactics or action considerations for each strategic priority. Any feedback from council on how we want to flow? And does that sound good, everybody? Great. All right, so for item number 1, it's our water loss audit and flood control. We're losing a significant amount of water, and we're actively paying for that lost water. There's 3 tactics that are put here. Number 1 is executing our agreement with Benesh. That was signed on the day of this packet disclosure. That will kick off our leak detection. So Benesh will be going around and doing leak detection across the city of Gibraltar. We want to gather that data and then review it with council to drive next steps. And if you recall, Benesh, step 1 was leak detection. Step 2 was looking at metered or unmetered usage. And they'll take us on a chapter-based approach through their partnership. Any feedback on tactic 1?
Do we have any mechanism to where we get them started on their leak detection process at maybe the oldest areas or the areas that we've had the most recurring leaks from? Is there anything in line for that, or can we put something to where we, as they get started, I don't know if they're gonna wanna start left to right or how, but maybe Mike, you.
I have a meeting with Benesh tomorrow to devise a plan on how we want to tackle it. I'm thinking starting off around West Jefferson, because that main goes underneath the marsh, We have possibly an issue by the school, so I'd rather them sound that first. And then we can work on, if anybody knows of any areas of concerns, but I think if we can hit the major roadways all the way first, West Jefferson, Gibraltar Road, get the main, then we can work on the, inside the subdivisions.
Okay.
I think going through the marsh is probably a really smart idea, because that would be an easy place to lose water and not know it.
Yeah.
Well,
Not realize
that's
it.
where we've experienced the most breaks
Yeah.
recently
Yeah,
too,
that's the
so, yes, that area, and that's where the area of the grant is, so if we have this information, we escalate these projects and push them forward.
Because I am going to bring something forward soon to ask if council would want me to use Rains to do the bids for the West Jefferson main, or go out for bids or qualifications for another engineering firm to do that. But whoever does the work's going to have to be familiar with USDA grants, because there's a lot of paperwork involved with that agency.
Right.
Great comment. So Mike, so the ball's in your court then. So tomorrow you have a meeting with Banesh. You can maybe give council an update at our next council meeting on kind of the project plan for that. It sounds like worst or concern first. I know that some of the initial inquiries they had were just around overall square mile coverage / length of main systems, et cetera. So I'm sure you're getting them all that data.
Yeah, my only thought there was if there is a problem area too, that if they can get us the report, or at least enough to move forward on a more emergency section, as opposed to waiting for their entire report for, that they do.
Nope, they're go keep me updated as they go. And what they'll do is they'll find 2 fire hydrants on the line and put sounding equipment on each. And if there is a leak, the sounding equipment will say it's 200 feet this way, it's 100 feet this way, so we can get a good location of where that leak is, so we can have the DPW dig down and find out what's going on there.
Perfect, cool, all right.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, because it's got to be coming somewhere that we're not seeing, you know what I mean? It's got to be
We're gonna do a
somewhere not
control,
visible, or we're
we're
not
gonna do a
seeing it.
controlled test between the hydrants.
Or gate valves, but hydrants are recommended because they're above ground. Gate valves, you gotta go in the gate well. And
All right, great. So we got 2 time commitments there. One is tomorrow's meeting with Banesh, and then the second will be an update for council on the 25th. Any other comments on Tactic 1? Tactic 2 is progressing that Banesh partnership to evaluating the unmetered usage and any additional proposals from them. Obviously, we'll take their feedback as they go through this chapter-based approach, but any other comments on Tactic 2? Tactic 3, I want to dive into discussion, and obviously, Mike, with your expertise, we're really going to lean on you heavily for this. So for the flood control, generally speaking, with residents that have had historical impacts and flooding of basements, et cetera, one thing that we've focused on, I know, is kind of monitoring the water levels and the rain patterns to make sure we activate the pumps appropriately and prospectively. But one thing that was an action that I know we talked about was getting that integrated into the dispatch. So having some sort of alert system, making sure that we have that. I know we have some technology in dispatch currently, but something to look at there as far as triggering alerts based on our monitoring. And then the second thing was automated pumps was something that was suggested. I don't know if anybody has an experience in there, but to reduce the manual intervention required by DPW, especially at odd hours or holiday considerations, what would be the appetite for automated pumps? So
there is a FEMA webinar coming up in the next few days, tomorrow maybe? Tomorrow. There's a FEMA webinar tomorrow that I'm gonna be on, and
We
hopefully I
have some
can,
automated pumps within this community already that I would like us to take a look at. What kind of maintenance costs do we already absorb on those? I know we've had issues with them in the past, okay? So evaluating those and the frequency of occurrences and those kind of things would be something we'd want to look at. Costs are a big thing as well. But if a maintenance issue keeps reoccurring, then automated pumps that don't automatically fire up maybe the best solution.
So I think it'd be important to land an action there, maybe just for you to deep dive on the current automated pumps and maintenance plan to Councilman Cox's point. Maybe just come back to council with what you see as far as current assessment goes.
All right.
And that way,
But that's just one system. That's just storm.
yep,
What happened years ago with that 5 inches of rain, our system that can't produce or evacuate what the problem was, we don't have a backup system for that. That couldn't be helped.
yep.
There was no answer to that.
You talking about sanitary?
Sanitary. It's an issue in our city. I mean,
There is something that can be done that I have seen in the city that other cities have done, and it's not gonna be very popular. One way to reduce the water flow into the sanitary is to cap off all the footing drains and have them run their downspouts out and down the street. Because when that water goes in there, it goes into the sanitary. If you want to reduce your load in the sanitary, you have to make it mandatory to get rid of those footing drains and cap them off. Other cities had made it mandatory, and that's one thing I've noticed. I've seen that a lot of houses do have, and you will reduce that, because you'll reduce the rainwater going into the sanitary sewer, and you'll reduce flow that way.
Do we have a section of town that has that right now?
Just driving up and down the streets, I've seen just houses, but to actually count the houses or,
Yeah, but how would you know which ones of those went into stormwater versus how many went into sanitary?
if it's a footing drain, it's probably tied in sanitary. And you just cap them all off, and you put an end on your downspout, that way it runs down the street. And if the street floods, it's better for the street to be a little bit flooded than your basement be flooded. And then it would go into the storm and not the sanitary that your footing drains are probably tied into.
Okay, I didn't know we had,
Yeah, I thought there was a code that you
Yeah,
cannot use your,
I
you
didn't
cannot,
think that was a thing here.
downspouts cannot be connected to sanitary. It had to be either yard, out to the yard
We're
or to
assuming
storm.
there's some cross connections within our community that are
That's not necessarily a cross connection, it just adds more flow,
more volume. to
more
the-
volume to the sanitary sewers.
We'd have to identify where those occurred at, but I don't, to my knowledge, there's not like an age part of town that was a customary installation with, and you couldn't get a permit to do that in the last umpteen years.
But we haven't, if we're not inspecting homes like we weren't inspecting them like we should have, that might have been, some got by, someone might have slipped by.
Perhaps we add that as a tactic 4 to the list, which is taking some inventory and looking at code on what you've just described, if that's possible.
So, to Mike's point, there was a program back early on when I moved in, so it had to be in the early 90s, where they inspected the homes and made you disconnect, at least at a minimum, disconnect your roof drains.
Yeah, because I had to do that when I moved in the
Right.
90s.
And then about, I think 3 years ago, we were on a committee, talk about, well, it was the infrastructure and the water and how we're going to raise money and taxes and that. And there are portions of the city that are connected, what they would call, nowadays you would call a sewer separation program. And yes, it's unpopular because sometimes it puts the burden on the homeowners to separate, and sometimes there's grants that we could aid the homeowners in with the separation. There is, in our capital improvement project, there is a line item for separation of the sanitary from the homes. It was recognized by Fishback. The only thing that they lacked on doing was going up the sanitary lines to each house to see if there was, external drains from the roofs in there. But most people that have the flooding that is sewer backup is caused from that. So it's a pretty logical end.
Until if their downspout goes right into the ground right there where they got that cap.
But even if that
It's-
portion is
You can walk down
separated,
the street and just jot down
Right.
addresses as you see them, because you can tell.
Right, and even if the roof drains are separated, you still would know about the foundation drains, because that would be,
Yeah, the drain tile around the house, that usually
Right.
connects to sanitary, but that.
and so
that's
some,
not as-
yeah, some of the
that's
home.
not as much water as the
Roof
gutters
drains,
and roof
right.
drains.
But again, part of that reason was to separate, that was because clear water was going back to the Shuva plant, and we were paying for it. So any gallons that go to the Shuva plant, that's clear water, is just money out of every taxpayer's pocket. So the best remedy that we came across and other communities were doing is, of course, a participation of some sorts of whether the city gained that money through a grant or other systems. But I could assure you that the government, whether it's state or federal, has programs that will separate those types of sewers and from storm to sanitary, and there are money programs associated with, because they want to get it separated. Because whatever goes to that plant and that plant gets overfilled with capacity, they release. And so once they want to reduce that reduction.
100%. Well said, thank you. So tactic 4 then, I just took, and I'm going to summarize and help take some notes for circulation, but tactic 4, we can look at code, we can take inventory, we can reference the early 90s approach as well as the cap improvement approach there. And then maybe you could just come back with some initial assessment thoughts around this. We could look at grants to the point brought up, if that's an avenue to explore.
Mayor, there was a line item on the CIP program, and I have a copy of it, so I can give that to you, Mike. But I think the city in their calculations back in to put this $25 million package back in 2019, there was a line item for, I think, around $2.5 million to separate sewers, and there was supposed to be a participation. Part of that was, I think, was a $5,000 credit to the homeowners if they would participate in it. So that was back then. So I can bring you up to speed on what I saw in that program and how we relate it to today's world. It's yet to be determined.
Great. I wanted to suggest a tactic 5. So we got 4 tactics there. Any questions or further comments on tactic 4? Tactic 5 is something that, and maybe Treasurer Fonte or Cox or Molnar, you can comment on this, because I know it's part of the infrastructure advisory discussion potentially, but with the land that was purchased over by Dairy Queen, with the proximity to the pump station, there's a thought around retention basin. I know we received a letter on that as well, so I want to raise that as something to explore. I'm not sure to what extent it's been discussed at the Infrastructure Advisory Committee, but would that be something we want to take a look at for tactic 5?
Are we under, since I got here late, are we under item 2, infrastructure improvements?
We're under item number 1, water loss. We added a 4th tactic, and I was throwing that as tactic 5 potentially.
Control procedures and water levels.
Treasurer Fonte, I can catch you up on what we covered.
Yeah,
1 through 3.
this is tactic 5?
This would be, tactic 5 would be consideration of a retention basin in proximate location to the pump station.
So tactic 5, that was brought up in the infrastructure meeting early on. Part of that was what to do with the $900,000 in excess bond money that we have as a result of not turning that money in from the or the redundant water program. So there's $900,000 we were talking about that is sitting in an account, interest-bearing account, but
All right, she's saying nope.
Nope, it was not advertised to be used for that, so therefore we cannot use it for that.
well, I'd like to clean that up, because there's 900,000. I get different interpretations on what we can do with it, so help me out here.
We can use it for anything that we advertise. I have the advertisement, I can share it with you. Only those items are what it can be used for.
So you can't re-advertise.
We would have to re-advertise.
Right.
And we have plenty of other stuff that we can use it for.
Yes,
And
but in this case, if you wanted to do a whole new project with that money, you could advertise it, right?
Could, but I would stress not to do that just because we only have so many years to use that money, and that will put us at a risk of not using the money within our.
What is that? what is that risk in years or?
That we have to come back the money.
All the money.
So maybe we can take this as a tactic just to look at aftermath.
Yeah,
It sounds like there's
okay.
questions there, but just really quickly on that.
So we addressed it. In fact, the DPW foreman brought it up because the sanitary pump station backs up, and the only reason that backs up is because they can't get flow out of it because Shuva's line is full.
Yep.
So there was talk about a retention basin there. I understand the former mayor threw a Hail Mary in a letter saying that this was his idea, but it really was not ever discussed, and it was never, ever brought up until when we started talking about the 900,000 and what to do with it, and that's when the DPW foreman brought up this retention basin. Can it be used for that? I guess if people want a retention basin in their backyards like that. So that would take a lot of engineering, a lot of DEQ participation, and the capacity is yet to be determined, so the capacity might not even reach the potential that you would need for something like that.
I think it's really helpful. So I'm gonna list it as tactic 5. Sorry, just really quickly, Amy.
Say though that I would suggest not to look at spending the grant money on that just because we only have so much time to use it. We've already advertised for other things, and that would cause a re-advertisement plus the engineering and everything else.
I appreciate that.
So my suggestion as the finance director would be not to do that.
I appreciate that. Just,
Because I'm trying to protect the city from getting in trouble with not using the funds and from using it for something that wasn't advertised.
thank you. Since Amy's not on the mic, just to be very clear, that's Amy, our finance director. She's saying that in order to spend it on retention basin, it would have to be re-advertised under the scope of the current bond coverage. And that is not suggested because there's time-bound restrictions to that. Thank you, Amy.
And the reality is that money wouldn't be nearly enough to do that project. I don't.
And that money, we've had, the infrastructure advisory committee's already prioritized a list of projects for which that money's being applied to, some of which is in active flight. So, thank you,
But
everybody.
in terms of functionality of a four-bay basin like that, that's something similar to what you guys did in Groseal?
Well, that's a clarifier, so it's a treatment,
Okay.
okay? But there's storage facility next to it which holds 7 million gallons, okay? And I know the letter we received talked about 6 million gallons. I just want to put it in perspective. That if you were over at the Groseal wastewater treatment plant and you see the enclosed area that's half in the ground, which is substantially bigger than that property, that holds 7 million gallons, okay? So trying to get to 6, you're not going to get there with that property.
And even if you
Unless-
could, the cost would be, I mean, you'd be
Astronomical.
millions, 3, 4.
It's not enough depth.
Yeah.
Got it. So it sounds like it's not very practical based on surface assessment.
Wouldn't perk, I mean, if you
But-
went to put something in.
But are there alternatives to consider in a smaller size basin in that area that, could be
Could help.
developed to not hinder the residents there? Yes. But is that volume enough to cover what we're looking for? That's all questions that we would pose.
So let's do this.
Well, the schools all have retention ponds. When we did the last bond with them, they had put in, so is that the size you're thinking of, the size that they're putting
That's
in?
just parking lot retention and deflection.
Yeah.
Parking lot, okay.
This thing is, if we get like 6 inches or 5 inches of rain again, the pumps can't push against Shuva out here at the
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they can't
24
get it,
inch.
so.
It just pushes back, and then your basement smells good.
Okay.
I think the bigger thing is to have Mike look into the sewer separation end of it.
Yep.
I think that's the first line of defense.
I like that. I like that. So we have the sewer separation as tactic 4. We'll keep tactic 5 as retention basin exploration, to see the art of the possible. Okay, so now we have 5 tactics, defined with some time, restrictions on some of those. Any other tactics that you'd like to add to the water loss strategic priority number 1? If not, we'll move to bucket number 2.
Mayor, since I was late, did anybody talk about the backflow preventers in the certification and
We did not. Do you want to add that to this, or do you want to put that under?
I think it's
Cool.
horribly important.
So tactic 6, do you want to give us a little overview?
Well, would that fall under tactic 2 with the unmetered usage and
I think,
backflow preventer?
I think on my notes, I slipped it in at the same point. Good point, Rick. So, yeah.
So let's revise it then. So Treasurer Fonte, will you give us a little more info? So tactic 2 is currently unmetered usage progression with Benesh, so backflow would be added. Do you want to give us a
Yeah.
little description?
Well, commercial businesses have backflow preventers, and that's to ensure that there's no chemicals or agents that they're using in their processing at a commercial site enters into our water system. We're all surprised that this hasn't been done religiously. I think there are, Mike might be able to speak to that more about the annual inspections and tagging of certification tags that are supposed to be hanging from these backflow preventers, and the applications and submittals of commercial accounts that have to do this on their own independently to Eagle. So it's important that we have an inventory of the businesses and that they've been inspected. It's for the health and safety of everybody drinking water here. And
We do have a vendor, HydroCorp, that is doing our backflow preventer inspections. I talked to them last week. They said they finished the first round of inspections and they had to go back and do about 24 re-inspections on them. And I did ask about tags, and she said the tags should be hanging after the inspector inspects them and does the test on them. So
are they
I
doing
think
it?
they're coming back on December 2nd. So I might tag along and see if he's actually putting tags on. And I'm going to contact them and get a list of all the ones that they had inspected already. I might just pop into some of these businesses to see if there's tags on them, because I know at City Hall here, there's no tags on them. I don't know if City Hall's on the list, so I want to see the list that they inspected, because City Hall needs to be inspected too.
Like it.
Yeah, I know we talked about that at the infrastructure meeting last week, and like I mentioned, I have multiple water taps, and probably 2 out of 5 get inspected. So I'm thinking that there's probably an old list that they're going off of, and they probably we need to do some research to figure out which ones are new or not on the list.
Yeah, it's, I want to get the list from them, and I'll probably have to spend some time driving around and looking.
If you want any help with that, happy to help.
Love it.
Are we, Mike, I know it's early on in your tenure here, but do you know if we have files that are on every business that we would have documentation, either a picture that we can slip in that file to indicate?
Not yet. I haven't seen any, but I'm going through and reorganizing, and
You put that on your list to see what we have for files, and
There's definitely street files that are upstairs.
are there?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, on every address, yeah, absolutely. Whether or not they have the backflow or the water stuff on there, in those files, I'm not entirely sure, but there's definitely street files for every address.
Awesome. All right, so this is great. So we got 5 tactics. Tactic 1 on the leak detection. Mike's going to be meeting with Benesh tomorrow. They're going to develop a plan on worst first, including West Jefferson area, and update council on the 25th. Tactic 2, we're adding the backflow preventers, or lack thereof, certification tags, file inventory, and HydroCorp partnership to that list. I have a date of December 2nd for reference, because it sounds like that meeting will take place then, or visit will take place then.
they're doing re-inspections of other facilities on that date.
Fantastic. For number 3, tactic number 3, automation of pumps to reduce manual requirements. There'll be the FEMA webinar tomorrow, and then you're going to take a look at maintenance costs and bring kind of council an assessment of that. Tactic number 4 is a new tactic, which is separation and capping off the footing drains. You're going to take kind of a code inventory look, it sounds like, and then understand kind of what data from a capital improvement plan / early 90s approach is available. And then tactic 5, retention basin next to the pump station, just exploring feasibility. Anything else to add for strategic priority number 1? All right. Strategic priority number 2 is infrastructure improvements. The focus on water, sewer, roads, including bridges, pump station, HVAC, West Jefferson water main grant, lead line commitments, and plan for road replacement or repair. given seasonality considerations, to focus on making sure that spring or summer of 2025 delivers an infrastructure set of projects to be executed. So I'd love to go down tactic 1 through 9 that's listed here. Before I do that, I know that the Infrastructure Advisory Committee has obviously been working through a lot of different discussions, but they have the water asset management plan, the road asset management plan, some of the engineering updates, amongst other kind of data points to consider. So I just put 9 tactics here, but I want to make sure if there's any tactics to add that we do that. Tactic 1 is Horse Island Bridge and recommendation on next steps. So I know the core analysis took place on November 7th.
So if you heard anything yet?
Do we have any updates on Horse Island Bridge?
Not as yet.
No.
And following the core analysis, will that be the last data collection exercise? And then what's the other
Their
steps?
core analysis will produce a load test result. It'll produce 2 things: the ability of them to find out what the current concrete strength is through from their crush test, and see what the salt penetration in the concrete is. That'll give them the data to reformulate their load capacity test.
Nice.
And that should get us a lot of different data. 1, the load posting signs is an issue.
Yep.
2, it gives them the ability to determine the course of action for rehabilitation.
Awesome.
What about, have they made it to the Purdue Library yet?
He hasn't, he made it up to the Archives of Michigan, hasn't found anything up there other than some Wayne County pictures. That I think is going to take another deep dive, because at some point in time, Brownstown, who was running the development over here and inspecting it, somehow there's got to be a correlation to the permits and that the Gibraltar Land Company was developing the area with the bridges, to Brownstown to Wayne County. So somewhere in there's something that would probably divulge who was the bridge builder and give us the last 2 bits of information to determine who actually was either the bridge builder or the plan designer.
Awesome. All right, so we got some notes there. So it sounds like data analyses in progress, and we'll wait an update and timeline there. Are we in touch with MDOT actively, or have we been in contact with them regarding the?
Phil's been doing a good job, and he sent some notes back last week with his discussion. I think I forwarded everything I had about if we somehow use that park for over 6 months, we have to in turn
Yep.
use land somewhere else in the city, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, I think he's on it, and which is good, because he's talking to MDOT, which keeps the funding alive.
Awesome. Council, any questions on tactic 1? Tactic 2 was lead lines. Obviously, we've been progressing our random inspections, our identifications, as well as, I know you had given an update and, put council's action for pursuing somebody to replace those lines. So, Mike, anything you want to comment on here as far as lead line progress according to state requirements?
I contacted Rains.
It's this room. I'm
No,
telling
it's
you.
lead lines, got it.
This room. Every time I come in here.
Right.
We can go
I
back.
contacted Rains. They are doing the specs and the bid for the project.
Okay.
Talking DPW, we're up to about 30 of them right now.
Cool.
So they're drawing up the specs based on replacing all the required lead lines within the city, right?
Yes.
And then we're gonna award, the intent is to go out for bid and award that to a single contractor.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep, because we got, there was 2 houses that were really high last cycle of testing. And just to have those 2 houses done alone were $15,000. To have a company come in here and it doesn't matter which company it is, to do one or two or something, they're gonna charge you, they're gonna charge you a lot more. You get company in here where they're go line up, they'll have one crew digging, one crew doing the replacing, and they'll just move on down the line, we'll be able to get cheaper pricing.
Love it. So it sounds like we're meeting our state requirements, and we have a process lined up for replacement. Any questions on lead lines or any comments on Tactic 2? And we've been staying in touch with Eagle and other parties related to grant funds. Yay, our finance director's happy. Awesome. All right, tactic number 3, replaced West Jefferson water main using grant funds. So we got the $1 million in support of that project. I know you'd already commented on that earlier, but you're gonna have somebody that's capable of meeting USDA spec requirements. But talk to us, any other next steps or things you'd like to inform council on?
No, just, I'm gonna bring something forward so we can get busy on that. Maybe in December, so we can start working on it right after the first of the year, possibly.
Awesome. And that would converge nicely with the leak detection discussion we had earlier.
Yep, because it'll be, when they get busy, if they find something on that West Jefferson main, I'll try and, move everything up quicker, so we can get going on that quicker. The only problem is my plan was to start it when school gets out in June, is what I'm thinking, because it will affect traffic flow with school in session. Kids coming into school, kids coming out, buses, sports activities. It would really, really make a big.
Great call.
That's why I thought about starting the process right at the first of the year, so we can try and get something in place by the end of June when they get out of school. Because the school district's gonna be doing some work on their property, I think on the tennis courts or something, so they're gonna have that area's gonna be all tore up anyways, so.
Nice. That's great. I know we met with superintendent and other school officials recently, and that was a part of the discussion, so it sounds like we're in active touch with them.
Yeah.
Any questions on West Jefferson water main targeted for summer next year?
It's most important, let's do it.
Tactic 4 is our pump station. I know we had approved the in-flight catwalk approach, but anything else you'd wanted to add there for the?
Yeah, they came and did their annual inspection on the pump station the other day, and we're gonna spend some money.
Great.
I just approved them to, the rods that hold the pumps in there right now. They're galvanized, and the sulfur dioxide has eaten them up, and they're really thin. We got some pumps that need to be replaced that are bad, but we can't replace them until we replace the rods, so the pumps don't drop in there and we lose them. So we got that. They said back in 2022, they had suggested we get a new control board for operations of the pump station. That has never been done. We need to get that done. They said there's 8 pumps in there. They said all 8 pumps should be replaced. But pump 1, 3, and 4 are the worst ones right now. And with pump 3 and 4, without that new control board, if you shut those pumps off, it'll cause a water hammer and will shatter our sewer main. So we had to get that control board done first, so they can do those two pumps. The new control board will have a VFD in there, so the motors ramp down gradually and we don't cause a water hammer.
Well, we have advertised the pump station as part of the DDA projects,
We gotta jump on that.
correct? Oh, the catwalk,
Yeah, we did.
catwalk portion of the project was in that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So, if we had to utilize some funds
I
for
think that
that,
we were thinking about using water millage funds for that. I don't.
I'm reading it right now, and it says, number 1, community center HVAC replacement, 2, community center parking lot resurfacing. Item 3, City Hall parking lot resurfacing. 4, entry and wayfinding sign. 5, City Hall and Community Center roof repairs. 6, DPW facility backup generator. 7, DPW off-site storage. And 8, Gibraltar Road Bridge replacement over Frank and Poet. But to your point, Councilman, I know we talked about that, and
It wasn't under DDA. It's just outside of the DDA.
Yeah,
So
but
we
it's-
talked about using millage funds to do the catwalk, the water millage funds.
All right, so I'll take note of that so we can clarify.
Michael, do you have any anticipated budget on that? Did they ever give you a?
Control board slash
No,
3 pump.
no, not yet. We want, first one is they want to get those, the rods that hold the motors into place, in the pumps into place fixed first.
Why don't you, can you approach them and secure a quotation, just so we have a ballpark here? Because it looks like
Yeah,
we're
budget.
looking at a big bite,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
that's gonna be mission critical. So can we make that a priority for coming back by December with that?
Yep.
And then,
Yeah, sounds like the first thing we need to do.
yeah, one other question is the way you describe these pumps, do you know if they're actually working to capacity, and could this be part of our problem by not moving the water?
That I'm not sure about. It was just, when I was out there the other day, Friday last week, it was, just some workers I have not,
Yeah. Maybe you can get, maybe one of their, area project managers out there and have that discussion and,
Yeah, that's my
and
plan.
see if we got you know, if these things aren't working to, 100% flow capacity, maybe we got an issue there, you know?
Are we talking to Kennedy? Is that who you're talking
Yeah.
to?
Yeah.
Kennedy Industries? Okay.
Awesome. Great discussion.
What's the status of the catwalk project? Is that project?
They, after it was approved by city council, I had them in here sign the contract, and he said he was go over the hatches. So until I hear back, until he tells me hatches are in,
Nothing's getting done.
which I'll probably might have to wait till spring because of the concrete work too.
Yeah. So it's moving forward,
It's
though.
moving.
Nice work, Mike.
Cool.
All right, great discussion on pump station. Got some good actions there. That sounds like that's mission critical, so you'll come back in December with just a general quote so we can start planning and working with Amy and team. Tactic number 5 is parking lots. So as Treasurer Fonte read out, community center parking lot, so that's Talbot, as well as City Hall parking lot. We do have the DDA funds available to resurface those.
That I can't say yes to.
So I know that's pretty straightforward, but those are critical and in bad shape, especially that Talbot Center parking lot. So, Mike, anything you need to address on those 2 items just to make sure that those are progressing appropriately?
Yeah, that's another one I was gonna start, bring something to council really soon here. But how do we want to tackle it? Do we want to advertise both parking lots at the same time? Maybe we could get a much better deal than doing one parking lot than advertising another parking lot.
Yes, please.
We want to advertise both parking lots at the same time?
Please.
The best way.
And I know,
Want to advertise in January or February?
Yep, that's my plan. My plan is to try and get something to you soon here. Maybe I'll put it on next agenda because, engineers are already doing the bids and specs for the lead line. I'm gonna give them parking lot too, and if we give them the water main, they're gonna be really busy trying to get stuff on, so.
Well, do we,
Do you want to do a design build on those?
I was just thinking the same thing.
yeah, why don't you do an RF,
Yeah,
a request for quote instead of going out for bid based on contractors?
Right.
That way, any,
Putting a work scope together, and then if there are different work scopes and different prices, we select what the best
Right.
work scope is on behalf of the city and ask for them to revisit it based on that.
any required inspections be covered in the bids?
Correct.
Does that sound good to you? Mm-hmm. Cool.
Can I ask a question, kind of riding on that? Since we're coming in and getting concrete work done, would it benefit us to like kind of look at our sidewalks too and maybe get a separate bill for the sidewalks?
Well, the parking lots are asphalt,
Okay,
so,
totally different.
yeah.
Separate lanes.
Okay. I just figured I would ask.
No, it's a good call. We can document that in context of the list, but it would be separate lane. There's an inquiry in the audience from our finance director about sidewalks, just FYI. Okay, any other comments on parking lots? We got 2 parking lots. We can do the approach that you discussed for design build, and then council can give guidance on what they think is the right path. All right, roofs. Mike, I know you've spent some time on our roofs. Do you want to give an update on status of roofs in context of the bond funds that are?
Just right after the first of the year, the bids were rejected last time, so I'm gonna, put it back out for bid again. I'll probably use the same specs. I also thought about,
Yes, thanks, Amy.
I also had thought about maybe, doing it this next meeting. If we can use the same specs, because I know, usually during the winter time, contractors like to give steeper discounts on projects like that to keep their employees busy during the winter instead of having to pay unemployment or anything. Because I know when I got my roof done, I had it done in February, and I saved a ton of money by having it done in the middle of winter than compared to spring or summer when they're the busiest. So if the bids came in higher than what you guys had anticipated, maybe doing it in the middle of winter will bring it back down.
I think that sounds like a reasonable approach.
One other consideration, a lot of times contractors that do flat roofs do not also do steep slope roofs and vice versa. So it might be something to consider, pulling the flat roof portion out of it. If for this building, the flat roof portion is only maybe 1,000 square feet, so it's 5% of the whole thing. And if you pulled that out of it, and it's not in bad shape here.
The flat roof
No.
portion is not in bad shape, and there's actually, they do have a coating that you can put on the flat roof as long as the flat roof is good. There's a coating you can put on it, and it depends if you go 40 mil, you can get a 10-year warranty on it. If you go 80 mil, you can get a 20-year warranty on it. And that's what you'll get on a flat roof with a replacement is, a 15 or 20-year warranty. So putting a coating on it will help. And if the roof is not in bad shape, you save some money going into 40 mil, getting a 10-year warranty on it.
I think what.
Maybe we go out to bid for the roofing side, leave the flat roof side out of it. and
That's
then
what I'm
at a future point, we can obviously entertain a price on coating it or whatever it might be.
Yeah, my logic there is just that, if you're a shingle roofer and you're looking at bid opportunities and it has something else in the scope, like we only had 2 bids the last time around, we may end up finding ourselves have 6 or 7 bids if there's no flat roofing in it at all and it's just the shingles, so something to consider.
All right,
Good idea, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, because the flat roof up there is not in bad shape at all. Just needs to it just need to be cleaned, the strainers need to be
Yeah.
cleaned, it needs a little maintenance.
It's just same way if I was looking at a bid and it said that there was tiny little bit of masonry work, I might say, I don't want no part of that. I'm moving, I got plenty of other work to pick from. So if we just pick, something that's just shingles, it might increase the amount of people who are comfortable bidding on it.
All right, awesome. I know you mentioned as early as next council meeting coming back to us, but then you could consider that pulling the flat out.
Yep.
Okay. Any other comments on roofs?
Now, that's is that not the one for the Cook Center, right? That's a separate thing? Or is that part?
No, I thought the roof was for here.
For here, okay, that's what I'm sure. Because the Cook Center, because I know I had emailed about that, that's going on, right?
The HVAC?
Yeah.
They were out again today. They believe that unit can be saved. They were up there last week. They jumped it out. The burners came on. We had good flame. The blower rotates. It just looks like the blower motor and the bearings are fried and seized on it. I just got a quote today that I approved for them to come out, replace the blower. They got to replace the blower motor and the bearings. the circuit breaker in there was bad. Whoever worked on that unit before, you have one wire coming in the circuit breaker, you got one wire coming out. Well, apparently the circuit breaker might have been kept on tripping, and they bypassed that breaker, so it was on all the time. So they go put in a new breaker on that, and then we're hoping nothing else is wrong with it, but you don't know until you can get it running.
Yeah.
My major concern right now is heat. If we get heat, if there's anything wrong with the AC side of it, we can worry about that spring, summer, but right now I'm just worried about the heat for that building.
I just know I told you one person contacted me. I've had two more contact me since then asking if you're
I
still
told-
gonna be used for their
I-
holiday parties.
I told them there's a rental coming up on Thanksgiving, and I would like it, installed before that. That's why he made sure he got the quote to me today. He didn't, and I approved it Sunday, so we can get that done.
Okay,
Awesome.
appreciate that.
So roof projects are in flight. That was a good segue, because the next item on our list was HVAC. So Mike, anything else you want to comment? I know you just gave the description there. Anything else on the HVAC front you want to comment on for council?
Nope, I almost got the bid ready for the HVAC service agreement go out.
Nice.
Putting together the equipment list has been slowing it up a little bit, so I need some more information on a few of them that I had to go out and get, so.
Cool.
I got I think one more item to put on there, then I'm done.
So HVAC, repair in flight, and then,
Albert, what about the community center, is that?
what about the community centers?
That contract was signed and he was ordering the units, I'm just waiting to hear.
Nice.
They're usually, lead time on the units lately have been 10 to 12 weeks. So I'm assuming probably January is when we'll hear something.
Okay.
All right, great. So it sounds like all HVAC progress is being made, including the service agreement that you're working through. Next item on our list is tactic number 8, and that is roads. I know we have our road asset management plan that council has, but Mike, I think really kind of the fundamental question is how do we get to work on our roads, and how do we think about the funding capacity potentially as it relates to worst first, because we had some structural need in our roads.
Do you want me to comment?
Please.
I was gonna say, our biggest thing is that we're gonna have to find out how much the Horse Island Bridge is gonna cost us first, and then that'll show how much we have freed up to use for local roads. We have a pretty decent fund balance in major roads as well, but I think there's a bridge on our major roads that also needs to be replaced. So it's kind of, we gotta check on the bridge work first and then see what we have left. And that's been the main cause of, the roads accounts. We've mainly been saving for bridge work.
It's
Amy?
great.
So in reality, we're not allowed to address any of the roads till we figure out where the bridges are at?
I would think
Why
that
don't-
would be the best move.
Why don't we just do it this simply? The contract for the bridge is, say, $3 million. I know it's 2 million something. We pay, our participation in that would be, I can't remember, but
5%.
5%. So take that number and then figure a $250,000 or something in there for engineering services. And see what that gives you and play with those numbers.
See what's left?
Yeah.
And then as we get this data, we'll understand if the
Right.
rehab's
I
gonna
mean,
lessen the cost.
even if you use the number of $500,000
Yeah.
Yeah.
at the high side,
The previous bridge cost us about $625.
yeah, well, there was, yes, I'll just say yes.
Okay, so,
So if we have a higher fund balance than the 500,000, it would be nice to see us get just a section, something that is affordable, to give us a little bit of, just kind of a shot in the arm in the progress, just to keep us on task with getting something done.
Our fund balance is $680.
yeah, so
And-
let's
Budget.
yeah, exactly. So let's take that as an action then. So maybe Mike and Amy, you can work together to figure out, based on that approximate cost for the bridge, what funds we have left. Let's take a look at our asset management plan to see where worst is first, and then you can come back to council with a recommendation to at least get some work done.
Yeah.
And then we can calendarize the rest pending savings. Keep in mind, we also really lobbying hard on the Congress and Senator front for another bridge grant. And I think and I've had good discussions with them on that. We submitted it last cycle. So while we just got our $1 million for the water main, we have a potential to maybe get back in line for that next cycle. So if we can think about this smart, then we might potentially unlock some funds for that bridge, because it's a high priority across Michigan, especially Wayne County, while we get some local and major road work done.
Yeah, and our fund balance in the major is about 875.
Yeah, so let's get some financial analyses, Mike, and it's with you and Amy, and then maybe come back to us with what options we have, and we already have that asset management kind of prioritization laid out. We got a big systemic issue of road improvement needed, but we'll know where the worst is. Cool. Thank you, Amy.
Problem.
Mayor,
Yeah.
what about, there was talk at one time about Lowell Street and the citizens' participation in that. Where does that fit in here?
I think it's very relevant and something that Mike should engage with the individuals that put their hands up, because I know they were presented a few options, but Mike will need to bring you up to speed on that. Lowell and some residents there have expressed an appetite to potentially figure out a way for resident contribution on that street. Their road's in bad shape. So a previous administration had presented a few options to consider. Maybe it's something you take a look at with them and just see what their current appetite is.
You might want to look at an SAD style with them, Mike. You know what I mean?
All right, that's great. So we got some good roads, including that tactical Lowell discussion. Any other comments?
Investment district.
Any other comments on roads? Last tactic, we'll get to public comment at the end of the meeting.
It was $650,000 was our engineer's price on Lowell Street, and the one gentleman said he could get it done for $250,000.
You're somewhat accurate. I believe they said it was 700 and something thousand for the engineer's estimate when they walked up. And yes,
650 plus some.
a contractor submitted a bid for two and three quarters.
So this is something, Mike, we need to bring up to speed on, which is all the things they're
This was
describing.
just like private too, so
But-
we gotta make sure the way we
But
do it.
yes,
that they were
the
covered.
infrastructure side of it, the storm and water main needs to be looked at in that area before we
Yes.
would allow them to pave over the top of something that might need to be addressed.
It's interrelated for sure. All right, we'll bring Mike up to speed on that. And then broadly speaking, Amy and Mike can put their heads together on road capacity so we can get to work on some roads as we await more data on the bridges. Last tactic under infrastructure that I had laid out was parking at the corner by Captain Jim's. I know it's a discussion that we've had amongst council and planning and DDA. I know we presented a proposal to prevent parking on the bridge side and allow the property owner, the business owner, to explore parking lot configurations that accommodate more, in addition to the overflow parking that already exists for that. So my understanding was that was in the business owner's court to come back with a proposal on parking lot configuration, accommodating the guidance that planning and DDA gave. But Mike, I don't know if you've had any discussions on that front. If not, we'll bring you up to speed there.
No, I haven't yet.
People are pulling over the curb, parking issues and control of parking there. So the business owner there has been open to figuring out a way to solve that. One way to solve that is to make sure we prevent any parking on the bridge side and then allow them to configure their parking lot to maybe expand on the other side to make sure people aren't pulling over the curb and parking on the greenway. So we'll bring you up to speed on that. Any other comments or discussion there? All right, those are 9 tactics. Is there any tactics that are missing there before we get to strategic priority number 3?
I know it's part of the DDA bond also was DPW facility backup power, so that might be,
Generator there?
yeah, that might be something we want to
Let's add
look
that
at
as,
in the near future as well, if,
let's add that to tactic 10.
I think we were talking in the infrastructure meeting of tying that in with the generator at the community center
Yep.
at Talbot, right?
We'll do tactic 10, which is generators for community center / DPW. Good call, Amy.
I have a question totally off subject.
Yeah,
but
please.
I've just been wondering, how often do we inspect our berms? Or have they been inspected?
That's a great question. Mike, have you encountered that in your time in here so far?
No.
All right, well, we will bring Mike up to speed. I'll capture that.
I'll just give you one more thing, Mike. That's just, I just
I
wondered.
could tell you, Councilwoman Cosmore, that I know there's been some bills signed for berm inspections from Rains. I don't know if it was just individual properties and that, but it's been a while. I mean,
What I've picked up on is they are individual properties. And
Yeah.
I believe it's probably a transfer of ownership where it's a
what we do.
requirement that the berm is inspected.
Correct. Yep.
When the house sells, you have to bring the berm up to
Up to-
benchmark.
Yep.
But also, there's been a handful of times where some folks have tried to help themselves to cutting down the berm and.
That's what
and-
I've heard, and it's like,
And I know the couple times that the police were out there and rectifying it and telling them they couldn't do that. So I know that people have reported it when they've seen them doing that, and our police have been involved in that to some degree, I believe.
Good
Just
flag,
thinking it
Marcia. We
would,
need to bring up Mike to speed on berm topic, so thank you for the flag there.
well, in my, anyway, the way I see it, I mean, I think the whole thing should be inspected at least once every 5 years or something to make sure that they're intact, because it definitely affects the entire community, you know, especially the people who live there, but, you know, even outside, it affects them. So I wasn't sure if there was something done before, I just didn't know, I didn't know.
We'll bring Mike up to speed and take a look, and then we can get an update to council, because I'm curious about that process as well.
Yeah, 'cause most all the berms were pretty much private. Every owner did their own berm and somebody shot it and said, good. And even if it was done right or wrong, it just had to be dirt this high,
Yeah.
you know? You can make it out of anything you want, steel.
No, okay, see, I thought there was like a uniform thing when they didn't put them up.
We'll take a look at that and make sure Mike is educated on that. All right, as we close out, topic number 2, we have 10 tactics that are laid there, plus, number 11, which would be to bring you up to speed on berms, Mike. But it looks like, based on the discussion today, Mike, you're gonna have a lot in front of us in December, January, and February, and we're gonna have a ton of infrastructure activity spring and summer of '25. So thank you, Mike, for making that a priority.
We're gonna overwork you real quick.
Yeah. Strategic priority area number 3 is financials and process and procedures. So a couple comments there. Ongoing process and procedure updates, associated software implementation, 5-year financial planning, and systemic considerations related to our tax base and revenue expenditure. So there's 4 tactics that are listed here now. I'd like to do the same thing we've done with the other buckets. Tactic 1, do we have all credit card / purchasing policy / employee policies signed per council's resolution?
We have all the credit card. We have all the purchasing. We are waiting, Mike and I are tag teaming the last group of employee policies.
Okay, awesome.
A handful of employees.
Handful of
We
employees.
got about a handful of employees that need to, and some of them were wondering if it violated their union contract, but their union contract gives them more protection than in there. So I was smoothing that over, and, because we're not violating any union contracts, so that's all good.
Well, I appreciate you pulling through on the credit card and purchasing policies that were updated and approved by council. So it sounds like we're all good there. And then the employee policies, will you just keep council up to date maybe at our next meeting as to where we stand?
And we'll probably do other waves of rollouts for you guys. Would
Awesome.
have to get it, as well as our volunteers.
Thank you. All right, any other comments on tactic 1? I know we put purchasing and credit card policies, employee policies in place, so good to see those balls are rolling. Tactic 2, software for invoice approvals. I feel like this is a good discussion. I know, Amy, do you want to maybe give us an update? You gave me a timeline and I forget what the date was. So March of '25, we'll have the new software.
They're gonna get us all trained, all the department heads. They'll have to do a lot of training with Chelsea in particular, because she's accounts payable.
Can we go back to the policies and
Yeah,
procedures
please.
side of it? You know, that in previous meetings, it was discussed that there were policies and procedures implemented in the fire department, new ones. I've never seen those, and I would like to get a copy of what those new policies and procedures are, and who directed the policies and procedures.
Great, we'll follow up with Bruce and team on that.
Not aware of them either.
All right, so I added policies and procedures related to fire, and we'll make sure that council gets an update from DPS interim lead, Bruce, on that.
With respect, I'm sorry, still to the policies and procedures,
Yeah.
was it something that, like, we totally weren't having people sign off on, or is it something to where, like, we were up until a certain time, and then we just slowly stopped. I guess, was it a blank slate, like nobody signed an employee policy and procedure manual?
I don't believe I did. I would say starting from 2020.
Oh, so there wasn't a file, like, if you look at personnel files, there wasn't a signed slip in each personnel file up until a certain period, or there's just none?
I haven't dug through all the files because we do have a newer one that was implemented since I've been here. So I didn't dig through them because they all should have the updated newest policy manual. So I just started a blank slate, totally from scratch. Let's get everybody to sign this because this is the new updated manual. And we should have it on file that everybody has received the newest updated manual. So, but I haven't dug through files of older employees to see if I could find anything.
So to the Councilman Molnar's point, do we have a package that is all encompassing now for employees that come on board?
Yes.
But in the past, we haven't.
Dating back to 2020, you said you weren't aware of those.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So good news, we have a process in place now.
Yeah.
And
And I think
policies
that might be
updated.
some of, we've run into some problems because of that.
Agreed.
Well-
Because things are just outdated and we don't have proper procedures in place.
Correct.
So that's why we really need, I think we need to look
Yeah.
at procedures.
We have the policy manual since the newest one is from 2021.
This is- I
It
brought
just
this
wasn't
one.
getting signed.
Well, that's,
Yeah.
What you're talking about?
that's the problem. There's no enforcement on it, and people need to look at their job responsibilities, and council need to be aware of that,
Yep,
especially during the evaluation processes, and
agreed.
that needs to happen. One of the things, Mayor, I wanted to bring up was, to my knowledge, in, talking with Plant Moran, and we don't have a procedural manual here for any department, what happens in AP, how you should process invoices, and whose approval process you should get. A case in point, forensic audit that's going on now with no seemingly approval process for payrolls. Those kind of things that we need to tackle here. And as I was talking to a few council people, that I wrote a standard operating procedures in the businesses I was associated with, working with an attorney and so on and so forth. They're daunting. It's a daunting task. First of all, you have to have somebody knows how each department function and what that functionality is and what kind of approval processes and that you're looking for. Talking to Plant Moran, they have people that do this for a living, and it would be my recommendation that if council is going to, and I don't know why council wouldn't, because this is the basis of a lot of our problems here. There is no standard operating procedures that has been memorialized in any resolutions whatsoever, that if somebody comes into our employ, Amy can if it's in the finance department, she can hand the process for payroll, and payroll then would be able to study and know what approvals that she's supposed to get and so on, and these things could be updated.
Yeah.
So at some point, whether it's now or in the very near future, we're going to have to spring for somebody to write standard operating procedures here. That should be part of our legacy for this council.
I love that.
To forward that so that it's just not for this council. I'm just going to, I know I'm going to on repeat and repeat again, but if you ever go back to the Plant Moran letters, post-audit for every year you could find, the same problems occur about our preventive controls, our detective controls, this and that, and so on and so forth. And procedurally now, they recognize we're a small community with small administrative staffs, but there are ways and means to circumvent a lot of these issues with a small staff. So it's got to happen.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So I think it's a perfect segue to, because tactic 2 was software for invoice approvals, March 2025. Tactic 3 was any additional process procedures. So that's an easy one, which is for payroll and AP, having SOPs, which we don't have to reinvent the wheel on. There's
No.
a lot of those that exist across many municipalities.
It's not that complicated here.
Yeah,
uh,
and then to your point, it memorializes a process and expectation for the process. so that everybody can follow that playbook, and when we're asked about how it's handled, it's a reference point. Absolutely
Everybody's
agree.
on the same page, and
Absolutely agree.
and I
In
think
addition,
employee training
yeah,
would be
in
really.
addition to that, especially with Mike's background in facility management, there's no reason in the world why, like a person like me would have to say to somebody, hey, what does the Cook Community Center cost us in maintenance every year? You know, are we getting, are our rental rates enough to cover the electrical bills, the basic things? Is the same going on with any of our facilities here? This building, you know, you can pick up a lot of maintenance issues when you know what these costs are, and you can graph them and take statistics on them. We don't have that.
Yep.
So I would implore council to, I know that when I talked to Vince on this early on, and Amy early on, that there are software programs that we can do this with from BS and, what is it, A?
Yes and A,
Yeah.
yeah. I think one of the takeaways from all that was I separated the line items for the community center utilities so that we could track it easier and not have it all lumped together,
Thank you.
so.
Yeah, you're doing that, but in the future, I mean, it should be on a software program, and it should be something that it's in, you know, we own buildings here.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's.
Agreed. We've had to, I know we've discussed that
Yeah.
and doing some back of napkin math on that, but to your point.
I mean,
software
I know
is-
you, Mayor, have asked the same question. Anybody in a reasonable position would say, hey, how much is this costing us so far? And,
Agreed.
you
I
know,
took note of that too. So SOPs around payroll, accounts payable, general, will correlate nicely with the software. And then to
Okay.
understand kind of maintenance / expense / revenue considerations on the analytical side.
So like for an SOP, is that like detailed instructions on how to do said procedure? Because I know Mary already has the detailed instructions on how to do payroll. She was off for maternity leave. I had to be able to follow it.
Yep.
I think it would be pretty easy to just revise that to add certain things about approvals for it.
But that should be, whoever we get as a consultant here to put this program together, that would be incorporated in it. My bigger problem is not only knowing how to operate it, but from what I've seen, there hasn't been a good standardized approval process. So payroll will get, case in point, what we're going through right now with this audit, payroll would get a payroll from a department and would process it. So payroll's only obligation was to process. It wasn't to look for any corrections, and if there was any corrections, it was more or less a correction made on behalf if the employee was getting proper hours and so on and so forth. But we all have to look further than that. Not only do we want to ensure our employees get the proper pay, but are the hours confirmed and approved?
And that's the department
Well,
head.
that's also been adjusted as well after our previous audit, sorry. We have, all employees have to sign off on all their time cards, and then their supervisors are also supposed to go through
Yeah.
and sign off through our pay software to make sure that's approved. Fire payroll, which wasn't going through as many ring hoops as it used to, we've put in place a lot. It is supposed to be approved by Cindy Simon, Bill Kane, and our chief of police. And then it goes to Katie to be put in the council packet, and then you guys are all handed it. And then once you guys review it and approve it, then Mary has the okay to issue the fire payroll.
Yep.
Because that's not in pay scheduling per se.
I think the good news is a lot of improvements and check and balances have been put in place. Now
Yeah.
it's taking that, getting formalized SOPs, which is going to leverage all the things that have been
Yeah.
done to improve, right? And then find out where gaps are
Yeah.
that need SOPs that don't exist today.
And
Yeah.
if those approvals aren't there, those are not issued at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I heard supposed to be reviewed or
Yeah.
other things where I think it was slipped through the cracks before that
Yep,
we're going to assure that nothing slips through the cracks anymore.
well said.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
think some of that slipped through just because we didn't have proper protocols, didn't have the proper software for, for our department heads. I mean, they need the tools to do the job right, and I think that's maybe what's happened. They've not had the tools they needed to do it.
And I kind of sorry. And I kind of say supposed to because I don't know if you guys actually look at your whole packet. I would hope that you do when it's in there. That's why I
We
kind of
look
said
at,
that.
I know I
way.
look at it, I'm not gonna speak on other council members' behalf, but I have to assume when I receive that packet that it has been gone through the processes that it has been
Yeah.
approved.
I think we're all on the same page, which is we need to take a look to make sure we have the right SOPs in place, some of which have already evolved in a great state, where it's just taking what's being done and putting it on paper and formalizing it and having clear accountability measures in place. So I think we're in a good spot there. I have it noted as a tactic. Mike and you and team will work together to make sure that's implemented.
Yeah, and the accounts payable process, I think we need to get the software in order to get the SOPs in place for that, the approvals and everything else for that. So I think that's what we're waiting for that. That's why I'm speaking on the payroll, because these are things that were flagged in the audit.
Yeah.
So these are things that we put in place moving forward to try and give us the checks and balances.
Love it.
There's a lot of, I'm going to say this too, we're doing a lot of changes, which is great, but on the other hand, I don't want to do so many that we overwhelm our staff, because we got a really small staff, so we got to make sure as a council, we're not overwhelming everybody, you know what I mean? I mean, we might have to like take, I'm going to put it in order what we want to do first, second, and yeah, so we're not overwhelming everybody.
It's
I mean, is that just, that's just how I feel. I
It's
don't
a
know how
very,
anybody
it's a
else
very fair point, and for today's study session, I think the good news is, right, we're laying out all of the things that we need to accomplish, right? We're gonna go to the drawing board and get all the information we need, and Mike will have a project plan now that he can update us on, where we're tackling these items that have been identified, and some of these already have time-bound measures that don't require the staff, other than Mike, to do something, right? Some of them do, so it's a good flag, Marcia, I appreciate that. All right, that was tactic number 3, which was additional process procedure. I know we've made strides in many areas, but those are obviously key ones to focus on. Tactic 4 was a 5-year financial plan to tie our investment opportunities to our financial capabilities. If you recall, this is something that Vince and Amy had worked on in some capacity.
Yep, and we didn't get a chance to really push through it,
I would,
so.
I would love if you, Amy, and Mike, and Treasurer Fonte could sit down and maybe just brainstorm on this one. Just because I think it's a great exercise to lay out our financials across the next 5 years, and we can then weave in where we want to prioritize infrastructure projects based on, you know, fund availability. It helps take a longer horizon look versus chasing our tail annually.
So, Mayor, can I bring up one point?
Yeah.
And it might not be related to that tactic, but what I discovered in my short tenure here was there's a resolution for the finance director to handle our investments.
Yeah.
That's quite a burden to have on one person. In that resolution, I think they speak of a committee that can help, if it's formulated, that would help with the direction of the investments and the procurement of it and so on and so forth. I read that resolution. I think it's a good resolution, but I don't think it should be focused on one person having that burden. I think the resolution speaks to a committee that would work with the finance director and review the city's investments and the funds that they're in and so on and so forth. That's my reach. That's the way I look at it, and I think that was the intent of council back then when they built this resolution. Because whether it's Amy or anybody else, one person shouldn't have that burden. It should be like the resolution said, a committee could be formulated to aid in that decision on where our investments go and who we reach out to and how that's presented to council in forms of prospectuses and 5-year achievements and so on and so forth, Morningstar ratings and so on and so forth. I know Amy does that now, but it's a big burden along with everything else she's doing, so.
Yeah, Amy, what do you think on that? Any reaction to that?
I would prefer it to be people I can get in contact with readily, because stuff
Yeah.
changes on a dime, and.
Let's do this. Let's make that tactic number 5.
Yep.
Amy, maybe you could just take lead on that to kind of work with
I would-
parties to
And
figure out.
I
Yeah,
know
I
we
would-
gotta remember too, there's a new law, and I'm not sure what it was, our lawyer, our attorney brought it up, that the state did a new law about committees.
Yeah,
We
with
really
the
need to
requirement
look
for
into it
public
to make sure-
disclosure.
Just make sure we're following the
Yeah.
scope of what the law
I would just say
is.
maybe Treasurer Fonte and Amy sits down, and then maybe
Okay.
you can educate council on what you think is the best path.
Yeah, I think council
can-
needs to look at the resolution that council passed way back when to set this up and really understand the language in there and understand the investment responsibility that's obligated to one person right now.
I think it's a good tactic 5.
And I can reach out to other communities to see how they handle it as
like it.
well. So,
I like
You
it.
have a lot of, and with all the other finance managers, so you probably
Yeah.
get some information from them.
All right, this is
that's why you
awesome.
guys send me to class, so
Yeah.
please
Hey.
keep doing
Definitely
that.
recommend you to send
Got your
class.
network. All right, we got 5 tactics. I think that was a really good discussion and some good tactics that were added, or I would say built upon. Strategic priority number 4 is zoning ordinance updates and the monitoring enforcement of them. So I put 2 down there right now. One is updating our zoning ordinance language using the grant we got, and that kickoff meeting was held.
Yeah.
And that ball is rolling, and our city planner had sent an update and kind of, so thank you to those that are involved in that, but that is in flight, and I thought it was a really good, productive kickoff meeting.
I think we're meeting again in January, I think.
Exactly.
It's kind of wait after the holidays.
So maybe what we'll do there is, let's make sure council's all in the loop on that, so I'll put that in our next packet, just for your reference, or I can send it offline, but that way you can kind of see the project plan, council, as to what's happening there. So that's the zoning ordinance language. Second tactic was something that Mike brought up, ordinance update and enforcement on gap areas. So he had kind of had an observation on grease traps and exposure to our system, and had some thoughts around that. So Mike, do you want to speak to that one?
Yeah, I happened to notice a couple weeks ago that we don't have no ordinance regarding grease traps. Looking at other cities, they have ordinances that say that you must have your grease trap sucked out and cleaned quarterly by a company that's licensed to do so. You must supply those reports to the city, and these cities are bigger, they have ordinance departments. You must supply them to the ordinance department so that they can keep on file in case there is grease intrusion into our sanitary sewers. We can go back and see if businesses are doing their job. I have seen that when these ordinances were put in place, businesses were given 6 months to comply. I don't know if that's going to entail yet. I was going to talk to Anthony about drafting up some kind of ordinance. I don't know if that's going to entail hiring another part-time ordinance officer, or saying the current ordinance officer wants more hours. I haven't made it there yet. But it's got to be, somebody's got to be knowledgeable in plumbing and grease traps and everything else. Because if you get grease intrusion into their sanitary sewers, people are going to have backed up houses.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I said, when I was on the Shiva board, Mike's now replaced me, but that was a big topic of discussion, so it's astute observation, Mike.
Could,
Everybody would have thought about that.
rather than hiring a whole nother position, could we outsource it to a licensed plumber to inspect quarterly? Just, give them there's only, six places in our entire city that would have a grease trap, probably.
We could, I was, go talk to Anthony about the ordinance first and see how council wanted to approach it. I mean, that's something you can do too, get a licensed plumber, come check them out.
All right, well,
Probably makes
down the
more
road,
sense.
yeah.
Do you, Mike, what do you think? Maybe just come back to us with what you got a lot kind of assembling right now, so just come back to us with what you think would be a good update time frame that you could get back to us on the ordinance language proposal / plumber or other.
I printed off some ordinances from different cities to help Anthony kind of get a feel for.
Awesome.
Probably have to sit down with them and see which way we want to go with it to create some kind of ordinance language to bring in front of city council. Then if you guys have anything that you guys want to change or anything like that, then we can go through that process.
Love it. All right, so we got 2 good tactics there. Any other tactics or comments on strategic pillar number 4? All right, last pillar, unless there's additionals to raise, is professional services. This is pillar number 5. Professional services, operational structure, equipment, inventory approaches. There's a lot under this bucket. There's 3 tactics there, but things like our service contracts, how we're taking inventory, working processes internally. So tactic number 1, and I know some of you have been close to this discussion, was equipment, inventory, and maintenance plans. So there was an appetite to have a better equipment inventory and then maintenance plans on how we
Sense.
preserve
Yeah,
and
exactly.
support the financial
Yeah.
trajectory of our equipment. So Treasurer Fonte, you might be a good resident expert. Any commentary there? Equipment inventory and maintenance plans?
No, I know we don't have it, and I was told that it was out there somewhere. Nobody seems to be able to find it. I always thought it was part of the insurance program with MML, but what's on the insurance program is just the motor vehicles, the licensed vehicles, and I don't know how they encompass the rest of the equipment. It's not that we don't have a lot, we have enough, and again, to my point, along with not only the inventory, there goes the files for maintenance and service and so on and so forth. And
We talked about like even like a QR code structure where you could get history. And Mike, this is your
there's
lane,
all,
so-
yeah, there's all sorts of things now with the QR codes and the way you can,
Good, if you could even
We
do
have
simple
a,
Excel sheet.
we have,
This is your lane
I'm
of
assuming
expertise.
council approved it, a deal with Enterprise as far as the leased vehicles and stuff. They also have a maintenance program. They have, I think they're missing a couple. They have all of our vehicles in there, which ones are leased, which ones are city-owned. And we have cards, and if we go to an Enterprise authorized repair shop, when the vehicle is serviced, we won't get an invoice. The invoice will be sent to Enterprise. Then when Enterprise sends us a monthly statement, it'll all be on there. Because when the police department got oil changes, they were all on there. Oil, air filter, oil filter, all of that. Enterprise has that, and even our bigger dump trucks and our Vectors and stuff, there's commercial repair shops on there too, and it happens to be the one we use. So that Enterprise that we're using will help us keep track of maintenance, and they'll tell us when they think the best time for us to turn in the vehicle to get a new one based on the market value of the vehicles and when to get the highest money back on it.
So additionally, I think the big concern is probably the equipment that is not vehicles.
Really, I think the only thing that's not vehicles would be our backhoe,
Well, we have pumps, we have
pumps, yeah. I mean, we can
compressors.
inventory- Yes.
We have many different tools that require maintenance.
Yeah.
And I know that from a private business standpoint, we usually generate those lists similar to what Rich said, for insurance purposes, but we actually generate the lists from our depreciation schedules, which obviously cities don't have. So that's where our lists generally get generated from, and then we produce them to the insurance companies for coverage. But not having those lists, if we don't, need the depreciation here or required to use the depreciation, we might not have those lists. But I know we've tried, from a private business standpoint, we've tried all the software programs, the Excel documents, the pictures, the QR codes, the that, and we end up right back to a whiteboard in the same room that the equipment's in, and we just draw a graph on there, and we put how many hours it has and a date next to it, and when it was serviced, and the serial number, and we end up going old school every time. We have whiteboards up all over the place that have the equipment lists on there. But we've tried everything, and the guys that, and gals that are typically in charge of that practical part of the operation, their first instinct isn't to jump on the computer and get digital with it.
That's something we can tackle this winter. If we get a warmer winter with less snow, which will free up our guys, I can have them start creating that list. But if we get a really cold winter and we get main breaks and a lot of snow, then we won't have time. But we can plan on that for the winter, 'cause
Like
that's
that.
usually the slowest.
Yeah.
I like
So-
that. Love that. All right,
Somehow, we've got to start maintaining a file of however we want to do it. So I sign a lot of checks for surfaces, for oil changes on all sorts of different vehicles and repairs and so on and so forth. Now, I was told that we have somebody in our employ that is supposed to do that, and I'm not seeing that right now. Maybe it's happening. But to that end, we have all sorts of mobile equipment and even the off-road equipment that I don't know, do you wake up one morning and you say, this thing needs an oil change, or, we don't have much to do, we'll send it over here, and, I mean, that's the kind of program I think we might be running here, when in fact, to Mike's point, if we're sending all these vehicles out, in whether it's Enterprise or somebody's got to be tracking hours. So,
yeah.
They are usually tracked on the hours on the invoice, usually the tech.
but
goes
right
through
now,
the-
no, I'm going to say that nobody's doing that maybe, and if they do it, it's by the seat of the pants. So my baptism here is we don't have files on any of our water main, our breaks, or anything like that. There's no inventory. We don't have any historical data on it, so I'm assuming maintenance-wise, we don't have any of that. So we've had a culture here that it's pretty much running by the seat of our pants. And if that's the way we want, if we want to continue that way, that's fine. But I'm not a proponent for that, and never have been. And no matter how big or small your operation is, you should have enough historical data to make educated decisions on where you move next in the event that water mains are deteriorating, too many water main leaks, and how they were repaired. We have the ability for digitizing photographs now. We can take a snapshot of any of these things, put it in a file electronically or otherwise. We have, I think we just purchased these smart boards, so a lot of this stuff that could be brought up, not only in infrastructure, but in maintenance, we could bring up these files and educate council when they have to make a
Yep.
capital purchase. So somehow, we have to, whether it's through the BSNA program or some municipality, software to get a structure to files for not only equipment, but for infrastructure, I think we need to do that.
Yeah, and I think that's what Mike was suggesting was the focus for winter, beyond the vehicle service agreements, which you're implementing, right, through Enterprise, was to make sure we take inventory of the other equipment and machinery.
Yeah, I mean, that way, when someone new comes in, they're able to come up and look, where to go from there. Other way it is now, they're not gonna know any background. So if we lose one person on, even our DPW, we're in trouble, So at least this way, there would be a background for a new person coming in.
All right, so I got that built out for tactic number 1. Tactic number 2 is gas inventory. I know there's been discussions on that within the department. Mike, are you involved in these gas inventory discussions?
Yes, and I'm still working that process. I was gonna call Corrigan, but with everything else I've had on, their office, I can work 12 hours a day, but their office hours are set.
Yeah.
So if I don't get to it during the business day, I can't obviously do it after their office hours. But
We want to.
according to what Rich has said, I want some clarification on a few things.
Yeah.
So,
We want sustainable, Mike, so we don't want you working 12 hours, number 1. And number 2 is, perhaps today, while it's a lot to digest, the goal is to get everything on paper, and then you can come back to council for directive on prioritization, because we need you to manage your work-life balance. We need you for the long run, as you can see by 5 strategic pillars. So please do not feel like today is an exhaustive list to get to work on tomorrow. It's a project plan so that we can give you direction and help you prioritize relative items. Okay, so gas inventory, sounds like that's in flight. Last item on the list today, and then we gotta get to department head reviews, and I know some of you have to leave at 6, so we should be on good time right now. Tactic number 3 is process for professional service reviews. So, I know many of us had discussions here. There's a matrix in this packet. So I don't know if there's any feedback on this topic, but we need to make sure we have a good rotation of professional service reviews in addition to the contracts for those service vendors.
Yeah,
Thoughts?
and that's just like, if we have contracts with folks that are, you know, whether it's a year, 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years, and we have an obligation within our contract to give them a certain amount of notice before, sometimes these agreements, and they don't happen with us in the contracted department head scenario, but sometimes a contract will recur at the same duration. So if you don't cancel it or, you know, notice within 30 or 60 or 90 days
Exactly.
or whatever, you know, it might revert to another 3-year contract, even though you just meant to go another month or two.
Yep.
So we have to have some type of a record keeping, just like with equipment, something that alerts us, you know, hey, your contract is up for this service in 90 days. And then that gets brought, you know, systematically brought into council of, hey, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to renegotiate, or do you want to go out for bid again?
Yep.
Because right now, I think our assessing ended early. We switched anyway, I think. We, sometime over the last 6 months for the assessing company, did we not?
We have a new representative there.
But the same company, WCA still?
Same company, yeah.
Got it, okay.
But for planning, we made that switch.
Right, and Wade Trim's contract was expiring in October of this year, so that's come and gone. And we were intending on just having McKenna fulfill it for that duration.
That contract needs to come back to council to take a look at that. So that's an action there for Wade Trim, that is.
Okay,
Or sorry, for
McKenna.
McKenna, yep.
Yep. So some type of automated, systematic approach to where we
like
would
that.
know, you know, like, some of the agreements are just 30-day agreements. That it's incumbent upon us to give 30 days notice whenever we want to terminate that. But some of them are 2-year, 3-year. Rains' contract was up in March, but has a 60-day notice requirement.
Yep.
So just something, I think, if we had that matrix updated regularly and had some type of way where it caused our attention to look at it again, I think that's in our interest.
I like that. Does council have a preference for the sake of all of our services, right? For those that are running annual or multi-year, right? Do we want them to all calendarize for renewal around the same time, or would we rather stagger them throughout the year so that we have like a rolling calendar of reviews?
That was,
Maybe-
oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, go
No,
ahead.
I'm thinking maybe it'd be a good time, like January, February, have them all at once myself. For me, it's like that way you're not forgetting, you know what I mean? We know this is coming up, this is the beginning of the year, this is how we're starting our financial year.
I think you need to look at it as
Staggered.
personally staggered, because you're putting a burden on
Yeah.
one person
A
to
lot
ask
to-
for all
It
these
is a lot at
requests.
once, but
If you can stagger them by year,
I think we should look at that. I think we should look at, not only second by year, but
maybe
also
the same
calendarization on the month, like.
A month, same month, and that way we know every January of whatever, and then.
Rob, I think it's right. So I think if we took a look at alert system for time, after we take inventory of current, and then we could look at maybe coming back to council with like a calendarization recommendation so that we just know what we're facing in front of us.
which actually, doing it in January is good, because if you can get them approved in January, then when Amy starts working on the budget, she knows exactly what
Look at that
numbers she's
smile.
looking for as she's going in, and things are not changing midstream. So January is a good month to choose.
So you like the idea of not staggering them, but keeping them close?
Or you can stagger them,
By
but
year,
stagger
I see.
them every
I
January,
see what you're saying, yeah. yeah, yeah,
okay?
Yeah.
That way, you know, it's on there in January, and it gets done, so then when we get all the paperwork, sign everything else, and Amy's working on her budget, she already has the numbers. Because if something is up in October and we get a new contractor and she's already done this budget, then she's gotta make a budget amendment to adjust for any increases or decreases in that line item.
I like it.
Which is exactly what happened with solid waste.
All right, that's helpful. Good discussion. I added some notes there. All right, council, that is all of our 5 pillars and all the tactics we had. I thought this was an awesome discussion. Is there anything we're missing? And if not, what I thought we could do is, I have notes on everything, we could work together to compile those notes, and then, Mike, you'd have an overall project file. The hope would be that you come back to council with just updates on a monthly basis, and then we can help make sure that it's work-life sustainability and you getting input on prioritization.
The only other thing would be the department head review portion.
I want to get to that next.
Got it, right.
Any other topics for strategic pillars? Dorothy, you feel good about it? All right. Department head reviews. So in your packet, there's the, I would say, performance evaluation grid or rating scales and the different criteria. This is obviously using city administrator, finance director as an example. But council, just to kind of level set, we talked about Mike being the lead, and Mike reviews all department heads, and then council reviews Mike. So are we aligned on that approach?
Can you define the department heads then, so that everybody knows that, in case
Yeah.
they don't?
Yeah, so let's go through the list, right? So, one is our finance director. Everybody agree with that? All right, 2 is gonna be, director of public safety. 3 would be our fire chief.
Would our fire chief fall underneath, so we don't have a fire chief position, as far as I know, unless there's a resolution that created that position at some point. And Katie, I don't know if you would be able to help us search for something like that, but from what I'm guessing is that the fire chief position was probably created by resolution at some point, because it's definitely not by ordinance, and it's definitely not in the charter. So that would be a position underneath the Department of Public Safety.
So that's a good discussion point. So is it just director of public safety that gets the review, or you're saying,
I would think it would be a review with the Department of Public Safety.
okay.
Yeah, I think so too.
So that the DPS would then review the chief under their direction.
In fact, if you look at our
Flow chart,
flow chart,
right.
provided by, was it Plant Moran that did it a few years ago, or whoever?
Well,
did
it was in a
Master
master recreation plan, and it showed the director of public safety being over the fire chief
Yeah.
and the police chief.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is the model we're operating by.
Correct. Yep.
So that's good, that's a good point of clarification. So then director of public safety would be the department head, and fire chief would be reviewed by director of public safety.
Right.
Okay, so we have finance director, director of public safety. Katie's obviously an elected official, but our city clerk.
Right? And, the recreation was a separate department on that
Yeah.
flow chart.
Yep,
The accessor was the other department, and there was 5, so I'm missing somebody now.
Attorney,
No,
City administrator.
engineering,
Oh, yep.
Oh, yeah.
yep. Those were the 5 departments on that flow chart.
cool.
Water
So-
Department also.
That wasn't, whether that was under engineering, I don't know, but right now, the water department doesn't have a department head.
Right.
Oh, excuse me, it was DPW.
Yeah, which falls under city administrator purview per DPW.
So the 5 departments outlined on that flow chart was the Department of Public Safety,
Yep,
Finance,
Yep.
Recreation,
Yep.
Accessor, and DPW.
cool. Is everybody aligned to that list? Okay, and then council would review Mike.
So in our scenario here, the accessor is a subcontractor or a service contract, correct?
A vendor.
Right.
Yeah, professional service contract.
The DPW, we don't have a director there or a department head, other than Mike.
Yep,
The Recreation Department, we have a department head.
yep.
It's only three,
Yeah, and Finance, we have a department head.
And DPS?
DPS, we have a department head.
so it would have, Mike would have 3 reviews and we would have 1, is that what I'm hearing?
Yep.
And we would get looped in on the review by getting the report of it?
That'd be my suggestion is Mike, the resolution was to pursue this in November. So Mike, obviously we have a Thanksgiving holiday and other things coming up, but we would ask that you prioritize these reviews with the month of December, or sorry, month of November as possible. And then you'd come back to council with the review information.
Okay.
Does that, do you have any input on your municipal experience and how you've seen things work or not work successfully?
No, just, I think any, reviews like this should never be talked about publicly, should always be private. It can always be sent to council, just as information, but if anything needs to be discussed about anything that's personnel related, it should always be in a closed session and not set out publicly.
And I think the closed session requirement is that we need to have the permission of that individual to go into that. But yes, I hear you loud and clear. I want to be respectful of that.
Very few employees will want to be in public. They usually
Agreed.
want it in, private.
Agreed. Okay, so we got the process, and we got the individuals, and we got Mike's point, right? Does council have any feedback from Mike on the performance rating, or the evaluation form here? This is obviously what's been used in the
Matrix
past.
there.
Well, yeah, I've got some questions.
Yeah.
In my prior life, we weighted certain of these items on here. If council thinks that administrative skills are of a high weighted capacity, and let's say, I don't know how what's the end game here? Is it numerical? Is it by the check marks? What are you arriving at? How do you add it up, and then how do you determine if the
Performance is satisfactory?
is satisfactory? Keep it in mind, so when you look at employees, you hire employees at a threshold. So employees that are hired, you give them a criteria. A lot of it is based on the ordinance of what, like in Mike's case, or anybody's case, you have a list of things that they're responsible for. That's the median ground. So that's what your expectations are for an individual to come into your employ and meet those goals. To exceed to excellent, good, and so on and so forth, you're going to have to be looking at an individual who exceeds those expectations.
Yeah.
So, all too often, as somebody sitting out in the audience, I've seen former councils give raises to individuals that are based on more of a likeness scale than a performance scale. And I think that it's incumbent upon council in the future of how we arrive at these assessments and because it's good for the employee too.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, on item number 1, how do you, at the end, how do you come up with something that you're happy with?
My recommendation, and I would just throw this out of thought stimulator, was number 1, you benchmark it to the role, right? And the role is described in our charter and language, or
Correct.
JDs have been built accordingly. So each one of these forms should be attached with the role as defined by our charter. That's number 1.
And that should be given to our employee, make sure they have that.
Well, that employee needs to have it, obviously, and then Mike, you have it, right? Treasurer Fonte, to me, whether numeric or not, like the systematic approach here is, it's a 1 through 5 scale, right? I agree with you that if you're doing your job, right, then it's 3. You're meeting that expectation.
So it is a numerical scale.
Well, I mean, it's not written as such, right? But my thought process is, what you're trying to do is assess, based on the job description, the performance across these criteria, right? And weave that in. And so the focus will be on a 3 is you're meeting that expectation. If you've gone above and beyond that duty, 4 or 5 would be in that category, right? And then anything below that is where council needs to be made aware, right? So any 2 or 1 is where there is a deficiency in that metric. And that's the focus to me. So a 3 across the board means you've done your job according to the description of your job successfully,
Yeah,
right?
you've met that threshold.
Correct, right? So then really the focus of these reviews, in my opinion, is we acknowledge the upside, a 4 or 5 as a means of discussion around the upside in that, right? We look at the focus of this as, if you're getting a 2 or 1, that's where we lean in to address that deficiency, because that's less than the requirements of your role. So to me, that's the way I view this. It's
So
like the flags will be apparent on a 2 or 1.
I'm going to go a little deeper here now, but if you were in a review, whether this is are you going to call this a performance review?
Yeah.
Okay, and if you were discussing a wage increase, right? What would your threshold be for the numerics here on giving somebody a wage increase? Does all average give you a wage increase?
So I think that's where these discussions should be had by council, right?
and
And
what-
in theory, right, there's a lot of market and economic factors that would substantiate potentially even with a 3, a
Yeah,
numerical
absolutely, but
trajectory,
what I'm
right?
not seeing on this, I'm just saying that I'm not seeing any totals or, the ability to come up with a scale number for the entire package. So if this 3-page sheet was populated in different areas, you would like to go to the end page, or even on the top, if you were up on the top page, and find out what the total was. Was it a 72? Was it an 18? You've got to have a numeric number there.
I think it's fair, and I think we could easily do that calculation if council's okay with it being a 1 to 5, right? Now, but to the point, I think the focus here is 3 or above, you've met your duties or exceeded them, which is a great discussion around contracted compensation. 2 or 1 is where you lean in to say that was a deficiency area. So I think this is getting us the intel we need according to the role. And so if you want to aggregate the data, right, or if we want to discuss weighting, that's
Well, you're going to be discussing wages, just like your employer will discuss a bonus with you. And
100%.
Whenever any personnel undergoes that, not only a threshold for a wage increase, but a bonus and consideration thereof, this form is not a completed thing to where intelligent decisions you can have with an employee. So I would say that it needs to be refined more, and if administrative skills required no less weight than human resource skills or achievement of objective skills, then it's not a weighted survey or
Or maybe we need to add goals to it. Maybe, set up goals on the bottom page of what we want the employee to work towards.
I think-
So that way, if there's a deficient area, we may say, this is your goal to work towards this.
well, there
I
is.
think that would be done after a performance
Yeah,
evaluation.
there is comments on here and so on and so
Yeah,
forth.
there's qualitative elements, and then there's achievement of objectives and expectations, right? So to Treasurer Fonte's point, number 8 would be a critical one, right? I think to me, this still allows us to accomplish the pointed deficiency highlight or lack thereof, right? If we want to discuss a weighting factor, I don't have any suggestions sitting here today to say that we would apply this algorithm to weight accordingly. To me, this gives us what we
Yeah.
need.
Too, I don't
There-
think
there's-
we're allowed to give bonuses either.
Well, no, but I'm just using it as an example. I mean, in exchange for a bonus, you're going to give somebody a raise. And so it's the same thing. There's money being transacted here based on a
You're also
performance.
doing the contracts too, so they get raises.
Go
I
ahead.
think that
On the union contracts too.
Yeah.
as Mike gets the opportunity.
Well,
to go
union
to
people
some of
wouldn't
the
be evaluated here.
As,
That's true.
no, yeah, as Mike gets the opportunity to go to some training classes with respect to HR, and utilizes some of the benefits that we have at MML, might find some strategies in these reviews that we hone in on and we can get better at over time. But in order to get it moving, I like the idea of using what we have, so that we have something.
Agreed.
And then we can improve as we all get educated.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Like it.
So on this one here, there's 8 factors. If 5 was excellent, your grade would be a 40, right?
Right, but you're still comparing it to their chartered or their responsibilities, their
Yes.
role.
Yeah.
So it's not just, how are you at HR, how are you
Yep.
at administration? You're also looking at how are you at this aspect of requirement of your job.
Agreed.
I get that, but I don't know if, maybe I'm not articulating it properly. If you're going to give somebody a bonus, a raise, or whatever, I'm sure you have a numerical threshold you want them to achieve. So if a raise is based on an average grade and they meet that, then they get the raise.
Just to jump in real quick, I don't think it's a great practice to build raises around reviews. I really don't, because that gives the expectation that every time there's a review, there's an impending raise. And I don't think that's a good practice.
Well, I think you need to define that, whether, I think it's worthy of an employee to know what their status is, and maybe you need to have evaluations not based on raise every 6 months or something, to let people know, what you think and what they think and how we proceed further. But at some point in time, somebody's going to be looking for a wage increase.
I think what you're trying to highlight is the objectivity in defining a raise in compensation, right?
Correct.
Council has that voting discretion, number one. Two, this gives us quantitative and qualitative data, both of them, according to their roles and responsibilities.
Yep.
For which we can analyze and understand at a tactical level where deficiencies are, where exceeding performance is. So I think we're getting to a quantitative and qualitative element. I like Councilman Molnar's suggestion that we can see what Mike does in his training and HR course to see if we can optimize this further. But I don't see this as being deficient in getting us to our goal.
Okay.
Unless somebody else does.
I was just gonna say, I think maybe what you're thinking is like a grading scale, like a 34 to 40 is like an A.
Well, I just know in the private world, it's very hard sometimes to extract bonuses out of ownership when you don't have a parameter for giving it out. You have to set a parameter.
Yeah.
And I think even corporations do the same thing. So, but I think what's even more fair is that you have an interim evaluation so that if there's an issue that council might have with a department head, you owe it to that individual to let them know, and this is a great way of doing it, and the improvements could be made thereon, and when it comes to the conclusion, 6 months later, you might have to decide whether you're going to keep that employee or depart with that appointee. So I think you're on the right track. I think eventually you'll refine it as you go.
Agreed. Great discussion. So Mike, do you feel like you have your clear direction on the department heads that we've discussed today, as well as the matrix that you're tasked with using? And then the target would be to do those reviews in November and come back to council by December with that information?
Yeah, I could. One object I'd like to make is possibly pushing us down the road a little bit. Number one, I've been here 1 month. Kind of hard for me to get a good grasp on anything. And
Just that, give them some time.
and Lieutenant Bullard's only been in that position a couple weeks. So it's really kind of hard to evaluate him and whether he's going to stay in that position permanently or whether somebody else is going to be in that position. I think a permanent person should be in that position before that person can get evaluated.
Might I make a suggestion? And then just having an introductory meeting about reviews, and that way we kind of accomplish what we set out and having a review discussion.
Yep.
And then putting just scheduling a forward date of, hey, in 5 months, once I've been here for 6 months,
Yep.
I'd like to do these reviews. This is what we're gonna talk about. Here's the form, looking over it, discussing it. And then we kind of check the box for our November requirement, and then it puts the 3 other team members on notice that, there is a upcoming review once we've got enough working time together.
Yep.
I like that. Does that sound good to you, Mike?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, so you'll have discussions just to align in November, and then 6 month or whatever timeframe you decide, meetings will be scheduled. Awesome. Well, council, we covered everything in less than 2 hours. Is there any other comments that you would like to add for today's study session? All right, if no other comments or discussion items, I'd like to turn over to our public comment. Members of the public, thank you for being patient. Do you have anything you'd like to address council with? If so, please approach that podium and state your name and address.
Take at least 3 minutes. Just the 2 hours.
I got less than that, Rob. Wayne Brand, 30490 South Gibraltar Road. Vince was supposed to go over, did we pay all the construction for the water lines that were put in? Is all those bills taken care of? Because they cracked a lot of sidewalk along South Gibraltar, and Vince said he was gonna go walk it and check it. But I mean, even some of the new sidewalks cracked because they ran over, with heavy equipment, putting the pipes in and out. They were using, payloaders, and there's probably 15, 16 slabs cracked through there. And it's gonna cost probably $300 a slab, I think is what the normal going rate is anymore. The DQ property,
Yeah.
that was promised to be paid for by golf outings, and the money was borrowed at 2%. And from what I've seen, we're like $31,000 in debt for that property. And the person that made the promise to pay for that with golf outings should be held liable for that, because the city's losing income money and everything. And I sure as hell don't want a retention basin put in there of any kind. And as far as Captain Jim's, the parking over there, they should put up 6 signs, two on Middle Jib, and 4 signs out there, so we're not liable, the city is not liable for somebody falling or something until that property is paved or whatever they're gonna do. The parking lots, there's been cars left over there tons of times, blocking the fire hydrants and stuff. That's very simple, put out 6 signs, and when the plans are done and everything's done, fine. But until then, it should be stopped for our own liability's sake, because the weather's gonna be getting bad. And if something happens, we're gonna pick up a bill that we don't need to.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.
I took note on all 3.
Don't go away yet. May I address them, Mayor?
Yeah, absolutely.
One more minute.
So on the, one more minute, yeah. On the construction portion of it, there should be a maintenance bond that was on that project. I don't know if it's usually on there for about a year, isn't it, Rick?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's something Mike could look into, and
like that.
that was part of the redundant water main project, am I right?
Yeah.
And there was supposed to be a walkthrough, final punch list and everything made by Rains, and there should have been final documentations for sign off of any issues.
Yeah, well, Vince said he was gonna walk it, I don't know if he ever
Well,
did, I never got to ask him about it again.
whether it was Vince's job to do that, we were paying an engineer to do that. So before the final documents got completed, those things should be in our file.
That's a
And-
good call out.
And if there is issues on there, like you're saying, then it would be up to Mike just to call Rains, have them do the reinspection at no cost to the city. And if there's a problem, they should file that with the maintenance bond and the contractor. That's simple.
I like it. And I also took note, bigger picture, on the sidewalk discussion that our finance director raised. So thank you on both fronts.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Any other public comment this evening?
6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Huh?
A minute past.
State your name and address.
Woody, 30126 Adams Drive. I live about 3 houses away from the corner of Stoflet and Adams. And when the water's low, it never floods. When the water's high, it floods. And when it rains, it's even worse. We had a lot of rain here a couple of weeks ago. It started to puddle up pretty good, but it still drained. And every time the water is up, it floods at Stoflet and Adams.
Yeah.
And because the water's down, so I guess it's, out of sight, out of mind. I just want to know is when you guys are looking at it or going to fix it, or we had a woman fall in the water and break her arm. I guess she's suing the city. I don't know whatever happened to that, but it needs to be fixed. And maybe with the water down, if there's a pipe in there that's above the water line now, it'd be the time to fix it.
I really appreciate that. Thank you. I took note
All
of
right.
that and contacted number 1. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other public comment this evening? All right. Council be looking for a motion to adjourn.
No motions.
Oh, we can't. Then we just adjourn. There's no motion today. Everybody have a great evening. Thank you. I got good notes, Mike, so I'll get these out for you on Friday.
All right.
And then you just can absorb it. Don't feel like this is a directive of like getting out of all of it. Just a good plan overall. Yeah. And then we can prioritize.
Yeah.